in 2010 and had this unique opportunity to crisscross the Commonwealth and talk to people about what was on their minds. And it was this, for me anyway, it was, I mean, I grew up in Massachusetts. I worked in the Weldon-Salucci administration in the cabinet for 8 years. I ran a big health plan that had members all over Massachusetts. I thought I knew a lot about the state. I learned a ton about the state I didn't know, and I met a lot of people I never would have met otherwise. And I developed an enormous affection for the people that I met. I talk a lot about schools. I've always talked a lot about schools. I'm actually one of these people who thinks, you know, I had a great hand handed to me. I mean, I think I played it with a fair amount of honesty and all the rest. But, you know, I grew up in Needham, which had great public schools, and I went to them and I learned a lot, and it was a great town to grow up in, and there was plenty of things to do. But if you were to say to me, where's your greatest opportunity to create success and opportunity in a country like this, it's schools. I think the fact that Mayor Mitchell has decided to make the schools a big part of his agenda is a good thing. The fact that he is taking his role in the school committee pretty seriously is a good thing. I think it's not only is it a symbolic gesture, but it's a substantive gesture as well. And I think in any urban community, if you're not talking about improving the quality of education in those communities, you're going to have a hard time getting where you need to go. And I've seen too many examples of schools that can and do succeed to buy into this notion that somehow it's a 10 or 12 year or 15-year process. I don't want to pick a fight with the mayor as I sit here today in front of all of you, when I've just said that one of my goals, if I get elected, is to work collaboratively with local officials to try to do what makes the most sense for their communities. But if you were to say to me, do I think we should do more with Voc Tech? My answer, generally, statewide, my answer to that is yes. What are the things that seem to work, generally speaking, to educate kids who everybody agrees, if they don't get a good education, their chances and their opportunities for success are significantly limited as a result of that. And for the most part, it's longer school days, higher expectations, more classroom autonomy, higher expectations for teachers, and individualized instruction and tutoring. One big issue with the train all along was not just the money, but the permitting. Could you actually get an environmental sign-off from the state and the federal government to run a train through the Hockomock Swamp? The answer to that seems to be a qualified yes, which is a really important part of that process. And I'm open to moving that one forward. But everybody needs to recognize, you know, if everything goes absolutely perfectly on that, you're talking 8 to 10 years before you probably actually have trains running. And I would sure as heck like to see a whole bunch of things happen in New Bedford long before that. And the big positive trend right now is a lot of young people, and frankly a lot of people who are my age and are getting to the point where they're empty nesters, looking for opportunities to live in urban communities. And the biggest issue I think the state could help the city with regard to that is helping the city come up with and finance a strategy to create a lot more mixed-use, market-rate housing and commercial development in the core of the city, because you do have a real downtown. It caused a little bit of a stir when I said that one of New Bedford's greatest assets was its waterfront. I don't know why that caused such a stir, because I think it is one of New Bedford's greatest assets. But I would really like the state to figure out some way to work collaboratively with the city on trying to do more with what I consider to be your face to the ocean. If you think about where the wind resource is located, and you think about where the opportunity to site it's going to be, and you think about where you might go to do the assembly and the actual disposition of that, it's a pretty good place for that. And I think that's a real opportunity. And I worry that the more time that goes by here, that we just sort of fight no in the courts as a state and don't really think about how to create our own data and our own information to engage the debate more generally, we run the risk of ending up in a situation where there'll be a lot of people fishing that just won't be from Massachusetts. Well, I support an increase in the minimum wage, but I would tie it to a number of other pieces as well. I think it ought to be tied to tax credits for small business, because I do worry about people losing hours. If you do it in such a way so that you create tax credits for small business to absorb some of the blow associated with the increase. People hopefully won't lose the hours that they have. I think I bring a unique perspective to a lot of this stuff and a ton of experience that can be leveraged in pretty significant ways on behalf of the people of Commonwealth. And that's really why I got into the race in the first place the last time. But this time, I'm doing this because of the people I met the last time I ran, who I think deserve a better Massachusetts and a state government that is more reflective, I think, of the sort of common bond and common values that I saw as I was out there working my way